Hello my friends and welcome back. It's Friday, the end of the week, so happy Friday to you. Today we have some fun news coming from Ukraine. We'll begin with an analysis of Russian frontline military blogger or Russian frontline soldier analyzes the tactics of Russian commanders or meat wave tactics. Comes from the source, so you know it's good. Russian commanders are throwing away their troops in performative assaults to impress their superiors, according to an angry Russian military blogger. His commentary highlights a persistent contributing factor to Russia's very high casualty figures. Russian commentators have repeatedly described the Russian army's pattern of institutionalized lying, including staged training, fake manpower figures, and false claims of having captured targets, which result in bloody attempts to make the claims real. I've seen many times where the Russian commanders report upstairs or to Moscow that they have captured a village that seems like they will capture tomorrow. Then turns out that they couldn't capture it tomorrow, but it is already announced, and the Ministry of Defense has announced it to the public. So now the commanders who announced it will have to capture it with any price, or they will be sacked because it turns out they were lying. So what they do is they use every last man they have, force them to the front, and use the only tactic that has gotten them any kind of results at all, which is just push as much meat as you can into Ukrainian positions. The ultra-nationalist journalist Vladislav Shurigin complained earlier this year that hundreds of Russian men are driven forward to their own slaughter, so that the boss who reports the capture, who has already drilled a hole for the metal on his uniform, can cover his ass. For some reason, Russian commanders report a capture of a village before it is captured. They see, with this tempo we'll probably capture it tomorrow or next week, I can already report it, but then turns out they couldn't capture it tomorrow or next week, so now the guy has to actually follow through by throwing everything he has in, like going all in, or getting sacked. Him being sent to the front himself, if he actually cannot capture this village. Daniil Senchugov, who appears to be blogging from Battlefield, complains on his Telegram channel that of his personal experience under fat-faced degenerates who stupidly call themselves commanders and blame their men for their own deaths. When the director of Zhenya died, our command first of all began to invest reasons why the deceased were to blame for their own deaths. Why weren't they wearing bulletproof vests as the people who didn't give them bulletproof vests? Why don't you wear it? You're supposed to wear a helmet in war, but they are responsible for giving the troops helmets. So you can always find reasons why the soldier who died is responsible. And that's what the Russians do. The price of the Russian imperialistic aspirations is paid by the lowest of the low on the front, the stormtrooper. The commanders don't pay it, they get the medals. Putin's entourage don't pay it, they get the millions of stolen money. The stormtrooper, the lowest, most poorest Russian, will pay the price with his life. My friends, now I have to bring you Friday's edition of the bunker midget. I'm talking about Putin, of course, because he has once again threatened the West with nuclear weapons. Oh la la, I'm getting used to these threats. If one day we don't get the threats anymore, I think we're doing something wrong. Putin threatens with nuclear strike. Russia may consider using nuclear weapons once there is reliable information about a massive launch of missiles and UAVs across the border, said the bunker midget. Aggression against Russia by a non-nuclear state, together with a nuclear state, will be considered an attack on Russia, added the bunker midget. Other points from the bunker: a critical threat to Russian sovereignty, even with conventional weapons, will be ground for nuclear response. Reliable information about the launch of aerospace attack systems towards Russia will trigger a nuclear response. In case of aggression against Belarus, Russia may use nuclear weapons. So we get plenty of nuclear threats. I'm getting so used to them, I almost miss them when they don't happen some days. And now, just to balance it out and give you a perspective, because I know most of you are watching from the West, from the deep West, meaning Germany, Spain, England, Canada, United States. These are countries which will almost never have to be afraid of conventional Russian weapons. So Russian tanks, planes, etc. I'm from Estonia. I don't have to be afraid of nuclear weapons. I don't get the luxury because Russian tanks and planes can wreak more havoc here than the nuclear weapons possibly ever will. So I'm not afraid of the nuclear weapons. But to give you perspective, here is a list of Russia's nuclear threats made by the president or other very high officials to the West ever since 1999 to 30th of July 2023. It's missing the latest year. And you see the threat list is so long, it's very, very long. None of the threats really materialize. Of course, we don't want them to materialize, but Russian nuclear threats are empty red lines. They have nothing to back them up. Putin cannot use a nuclear weapon because their main ally and the country that keeps Russia going, China, has very strongly said that if Russia uses a nuclear weapon, that will be the end of their friendship. China is very strongly against Russia using them. So in my eyes, I'm not being naive. I just know the Russian soul better than maybe people in the West. This is an empty threat designed to sow fear. If you are afraid, Putin has already won. Now, my friends, I'll bring you some interesting drone footage. This is a new kind of system. It is an FPV drone latched onto a fixed-wing mother drone. Now it disembarked, it disconnected, it's flying on its own, and you can see this is the fixed-wing mother drone. With this kind of system, you can lengthen the FPV's operational range, and this mother drone can also work as a signal relay and lengthening the signal and lengthening the battery life of the FPV and lengthening the strike range of the FPV from 5 kilometers to maybe 20 kilometers. It does a lot of beautiful things in a very cheap and cost-effective way. It's genius, and it's very simple. My friends, it's finally happened. The thing that everybody was waiting coming from the United States, it's official. President Biden delegates Blinken the authority to direct a drawdown of the remaining $5.55 billion in PDA for FY24. I suspect the Department of Defense will make announcements as they incrementally action the execute order, but time will tell how they manage this. So the big details here are that they have a deadline coming up very soon, in a few days actually, when they have to make up a list which cannot be changed later. What will they send to Ukraine? How much of the money will be spent in the United States? And just a side fact that a lot of people in the US for some reason decide to ignore is that about 80 to 90% of the entire money allocated to Ukraine by the United States will be spent in the United States, meaning that Ukraine will get the end product, the weapon, but the money will go to making that weapon and paying the wages of the people in the United States making those weapons. The United States doesn't really send that much money to Ukraine directly. They don't want to do that. I understand the reasons. I wouldn't also. So United States wins in every way by sending money to Ukraine, which they actually don't because they spend it in the US making weapons for Ukraine. It's a win-win scenario. Ukraine gets to use the weapons and the United States gets to show their weapons as the best in the world, which results directly in tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of orders from the Western countries who have seen United States weapons being very effective. Abrams tanks, Apache helicopters, F-35s, HIMARS, all of these systems, countries in the West are crazy to buy them because HIMARS has performed incredibly in Ukraine, for example. It is a testing ground. It is like an advertisement for United States weapons production industry. And if we take the very simple and robust assumption that the United States likes to make money, then sending weapons to Ukraine is the best and fastest way to get there. All right, my friends, now we go to Moldova. A Moldovan citizen shows us how to deal with the Russians, and I gotta say, I do agree with the Russians. There's a different kind of mindset. Russians read it as weakness if you respect them. They take it as a weakness. You respect me, you're weak. Respect means like you treat them nice and you let them speak and you give them way. And now Russians speak a different language. You gotta punch them in the face and they will love you for it. Are you a Moldovan citizen? You're a Russian citizen. Are you gonna detain me on the territory of my country? Are you mistaken maybe? Get out of my way and I'll go about my business. Guys, I'm showing you how to pass the checkpoint in Moldova somewhere. Open the windows to maximum and play your favorite music. Okay, I don't know if I can play it, maybe it's copyrighted, but it's playing Oi Luzi Chervena Kalina, which is like most well-known Ukrainian song at all. Opening the windows, blasting it in full volume, and the Russian soldiers immediately see it. One of them grabs the radio, the other one gets close, the guy drives on, and the Russian soldiers next ones stop him. Now let's see what happens. Now the fun begins. How to treat occupiers in your country that you are the citizen of. And this goes to how to treat the Russians everywhere and anywhere, because this is the peculiarity of the Russians. They speak a different language, not like language, but communication. They read different signs differently than Europeans and the Western people. You really do have to punch them in the face, either physically or, mentally. If you don't do that, they own you. That's how, it's just take it as a different culture. What happened, guys? Yes, what happened? Information is coming about the filming on a cell phone. So what? I'm in my own country. I can film what I want. Any questions for me? You're not filming servicemen on the premises. So you come up to me. You want me to not film? The guy is on the point, like being extremely aggressive. Russians read the language of aggressiveness. They understand it. They know how to play by it. They know those rules. They play by it all the time. That's what they live by. Aggressiveness. If you are respectful, if you're quiet, if you give them space, you give them a permission to speak at the UN, they will eat you alive. It's not filming. Says who? There's a constitution. The constitution of the Republic of Moldova. What? On the territory of the Republic of Moldova, and I will do what I think is right. Another question for me? Like he's like asking, all right, let's go, sure, lad, you want to go? This is the mindset. If you don't behave like that, they will, I've said it many times, I'm not going to repeat myself, but you understand. It's constantly being filmed on the premises. No, you can't film. Am I in custody or something? Why'd you stop me? Sure what? I'm telling you, there is no videotaping on the post. I'm in my car. I'm in my country. I get it. Now, what questions do you have for me? Well, don't you know that videotaping is not allowed on the post? What post? Why you're even standing here? I don't understand. Which country are you a citizen of? Russia. Well, I'm a citizen of Moldova. I'm in Moldova. Okay, that's it. Let's get out of the way and I'll move on. It's like, get the hell out of my way. I'm in my country, go back to yours. I'm not letting you go. Hello? And tell them who to shoot and who not to shoot. I am in my country and we have a free state. That's it. Out of the way. What's he standing there for? Why are you standing there? Oh my God. Okay, he gets out. Like the dude is a civilian in Moldova and is going to approach and confront 3 Russian occupiers with Kalashnikovs. And the dude doesn't have a weapon. Like a mad lad. Serious mad lad, this is how you're supposed to behave. This is the behavior we unfortunately don't see in the West. We don't make our words mean anything because we won't follow through. A lot of people talk about supporting Ukraine, but the politicians are afraid of sending this and afraid of sending that in fear of escalation. They are giving Putin everything he wants. They're showing that they're afraid of him. They're showing that they respect his red flags, which are empty. They're giving him strength, day by day. Who are you to detain me? You're filming, so what, and? I am in my country. I'm a citizen of Moldova. You're a Russian citizen. You're going to detain me on the territory of my country? Are you mistaken, maybe? Get out of the way. I'll go about my business. He's holding me. Who the hell are you? Who are you, I ask you, to hold me up? Come on, get out of the way. Get away from the car. And the troops step aside. Damn, that works. We've seen it time and time again. And if you don't believe it or are having a hard time understanding it in the West, perhaps, take it from the nations who have spent next to Russia or had to live next to Russia for centuries. We understand, we speak both languages. We speak the diplomatic language of the West and we speak the aggressive language of the East. We know how to maneuver back and forth. You need some translation help when talking to the Russians because right now they own the West with the red lines. Next, I want to bring you an interesting fact, actually. It is a historical fact. Over the past century and a half, the United States has saved Russia or USSR from a terrible famine at least 4 times. In 1922, Americans saved more than 10 million people from starvation. How did the Russians react? In gratitude. This is a painting already from 1920s, and you can see the Russian flags and Russian waving the American flag in gratitude because they had a huge famine after the Civil War and American food came in. Also, their Second World War, Americans sent insane amount of canned beef and canned food. We're talking about like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of tons. And that was eaten in the Russian army for like over a decade. It's very famous. If you were a conscript in the Russian army in the like 50s or 60s, you got American canned food that expired like 5 years ago, but they still ate it. Another interesting fact for you, my friends, in 2030, Putin will be 78, Matvienko 89, Lavrov 80, Shoigu 75, Gerasimov 75, Patrushev 79. I mean, we all know, or if you know the history of the Soviet Union, then before Gorbachev, there was the ruling of the old ones, however you call it. The Soviet leaders changed really fast. There was Chernenko, there was Andropov, Brezhnev died. I think there was Chernenko and Andropov. Each of them ruled for like 1 year or half a year and then died again. Because they were all very old. They were part of the old guard from Stalin era. They were close to 80s and 70s and they drank a lot. They all died. It's the same situation here. That is what produced Gorbachev, who produced the fall of the Soviet Union. We have an old guard leading Russia right now. Putin is old, being there 24 years in the top already, surrounded himself with the guys from his past with the same age group. No young people are at the top of Russia. It's a very old country of very old men, run by very old men, who are stuck in the past, much like the 80s, the Soviet Union, when Andropov and Chernenko died one by one, and then they produced Gorbachev's leadership. The leadership of Russia is stagnant. It's stuck in the past, it's old, and it's dying off one by one. This will produce very interesting results in the next 10 years. Now, my friends, we'll jump to China. And I'm not a big fan of China at all. I don't want to order stuff from like AliExpress or Timo it's bad. I wish they would ban Timo and Alibaba from Europe. I don't like it. But it's good news for me because China's newest nuclear submarine sank, setting back its military modernization. Hey, ooh la la, very nice, very good news. China's newest nuclear-powered attack submarine sank in the spring, a major setback for one of the country's priority weapons programs, United States officials said. The episode, which Chinese authorities scrambled to cover up, hasn't previously been discovered. occurred at the shipyard near Wuhan in late May or early June. Now, my friends, I'll bring you a Russian designnik. VDV or designed paratrooper, semi-special forces. They are Russian, semi-elite forces. They wear their blue hats, you can see them from here. They wear them striped tank tops. They're very much different from regular stormtroopers because they have good weaponry, they have good training. But now Russia has fallen back to the tactics of the Soviet Union in Second World War. This is what a grown man who was an elite VDV kontraktnik looks when he finds out he's now a Storm Z izgoy. This Russian, who was the VDV division, got droned several times and has gone through extensive rehabilitation to learn to walk, and is partially paralyzed in his left arm and hand. He is crying because he received a letter from the Military Medical Commission stating he is absolutely healthy and fit for duty. The Russian Ministry of Defense sees this kind guy as, oh, you can still move, you can still soak up Ukrainian ammunition. How many bullets can you take in your body? That is what you're worth. If you can take 10 bullets and one artillery shell, you have served your motherland greatly. You are here to soak up enemy ammunition, you're fit for battle. So one of the best trained unit soldier after his injuries is just sent back to the front as a Storm Z trooper. My friends, in this video you can see the German newest, baddest and very expensive anti-air defense system Skynex being operational in Ukraine. Range up to 6 kilometers against hard targets. By the way, we don't see much hard targets in Ukraine because hard targets are Russian jets and bombers, for example, which don't fly over Ukrainian skies. They fly in over occupied territories or over Russia and turn back way before they can be shot down. Up to 10 kilometers against soft targets. Now we're talking about drones. Engagement capabilities can engage aircraft, cruise missiles, small to large tactical drones, and rockets and artillery. Even artillery, that is crazy. Weaponry integrates up to 4 35mm Oerlikon revolver gun Mk3 cannons. Fire rate, each gun can fire up to 1,000 rounds per minute. And I've seen the video and read about it. Their ammunition is explosive. It explodes a little bit before the target, sending out a wave of shrapnel on the target's location. So like this weapon doesn't hit the target precisely. It hits the area and then sends out a wave of shrapnel. Now it looks really awesome. I love the look of it. I love the sound of it. Love everything about it except for the cost. It's a very expensive system, and it's been German. I mean, it's really good. It destroys targets great with great accuracy, but it's over-engineered in a way that you cannot produce many of them in a short amount of time. That's the greatest minus of this. My friends, Russia has only one aircraft carrier. It's a very sad story. Admiral Kuznetsov is Russia's only one. It has had problems ever since its launch. It's just a very, very old and sad and senile aircraft carrier. Recent news that sailors from the Russian aircraft carrier Admiral Kuznetsov have been sent to fight in Ukraine as infantry due to a shortage of personnel highlights how Russia has been doing, expanding specialists of all kinds to fill gaps. Since Admiral Kuznetsov will never be deployed actively, I mean, every time it has been deployed, it immediately breaks down. There's fires very often on the ship. So they don't need the crew. I mean, the crew is almost 1,500 people, which Russia can use to just soak up Western ammunition in Ukraine. So they sent them to Ukraine to die. This has been happening for some time. There have been reports of specialists such as UAV operators, artillerymen, nuclear missile troops, and even doctors being passed into service as stormtroopers to participate in frequently bloody assaults. The Russian military blogger Roman Alekhin blames generals for lying about troop numbers and misleading the high command about the true state of affairs at the front. He says that rather than admit the truth, they are essentially throwing in any specialist they can get a hold of. About 5 years ago, I read a very strong analysis about Admiral Kuznetsov. 5 years ago, let that sink in. It was like 3 years before the full-scale invasion. And back then it was reported already by the Russian Ministry of Defense that this ship, I should call it a boat, this boat cannot go anywhere without tugboats, and many of them. So wherever it is sailing, it needs tugboats, because it's very frequently the engine shut down. It's diesel engines, so it's a very sad ship. Now, my friends, some awesome facts that I love. Every second round fired in Ukraine is locally manufactured. Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov said nearly half of the munitions used by the Ukrainian forces battles against the Russian army are domestically produced. The share of Ukrainian-made ammunition rose from 18% in 2023 to 41% in 2024. This is an increase a massive increase. 18 to 41 is what, over 100% of increase from 2023. And by next year, it will increase even more and more and more. In the next 10 years, Ukraine will be the powerhouse of the European area, and their weapons military industrial complex will be the most powerful. Now, my friends, some news that I hate to report, and I see this as betrayal. It's actions of a traitor. The traitor here being Elon Musk. Russia has installed Starlink on the Shahed drones. It gives unlimited communication range for drones flying 2,000 kilometers. The drone was shot down by Ukrainian armed forces during an attack. With the help of Starlink, Russia can use Shahed drones as an extremely long-range loitering munition with the ability to conduct reconnaissance checks. Thanks to additional camera, and hit even moving targets. Here are the debris of the drone, and we can see the Starlink part right here. This should not happen in any way. Starlink is vital for Ukrainian armed forces. It is a very useful system by the United States. The fact that Russia is able to use it is just out of this world. Throughout the Cold War, this would have been unacceptable in any level. But now, nothing happens to Elon Musk. Nothing happens to Starlink. Russians can continue using it. I cannot fit it in my head. I can't. All right, my friends. Now, for the last time in this week, and as I did also last Friday, I'll do it this Friday also. I'll send out one free Ukrainian fire drone t-shirt to one new Buy Me a Coffee member and one new YouTube member. And I got the names already. Buy Me a Coffee member is Donald Demers. Congratulations. Write to me an email. Write to me your address. I'll be sending out your t-shirt. And YouTube member, the newest one who wins the t-shirt is Larry Cleveland. Congratulations, Larry. Also, write to me and I'll be sending out you your own Ukrainian fire drone t-shirt. You can go and get it for yourself and for your grandmother also. Rehistore.com, link is in the description below. Price is very good. And now, my friends, for the Friday edition of butchering some Buy Me a Coffee members with my Estonian pronunciation. Let's go. No name shall be shared today. Irene Kuerin. David Kartvrikt. Hey, David, you actually won the last week's shirt, and I sent it out yesterday. Congratulations. Timothy Maken. I've said your names many times, man. Many times. It just keeps coming up. And now something, I don't know, what is it? Sanskrit? Somebody, what is this language? I don't know, but thank you for the support. Until my next video, my friends, which will be on Monday, be sure to be back. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.